glass walls throwing stars of light across a ballroom. A string quartet doing its best to sound like old money donors smiling too hard, while I balance a tray near the back, trying to be furniture, when the richest man in Riverbend City steps into my path and says loud enough to hush the room. "This janitor doesn't belong in our world," his hand flashes. It cracks my cheek so sharp, the violinist misses a note, and his daughter takes one clean step between us and says, steady as a level, "Don't touch him again." Freeze that frame right there before the security whispers and the cell phones rise like weeds, because people think the story starts in the pretty room with the crystal and the gossip. But it started where floors shine, because I make them shine, where vending machines hum like lonely fridges, where a flyer taped to a corkboard told me I was allowed to want something beautiful for once, even if I couldn't afford the idea. My name is Lucas Reed. I was finishing a community health degree at Riverbend State while working nights in environmental services at Brookhaven General. Keeping the lights on for me and my granddad in a walk-up that creaks when it's windy. The kind of place that smells like old books and pharmacy receipts. My mother gone since I was a kid, but present in a shoebox of notes, and one Polaroid of us with chocolate ice cream on our faces. My dad gone before the casserole dishes came back. And if you've ever built a quiet life out of what remained, you know what I mean. Night shift has its own weather antiseptic in the air. A monitor beep that can mean everything or nothing. My mop wheels hitting the same 3 notes down the tile like a song only I can hear. And on that kind of night a flyer flutters in the AC. Breeze like it's waving me over. Spring staff social and charity dance open to all employees and volunteers, string lights and live music. And I say it out loud just to hear it in my own mouth. A night to remember then laugh because have you seen my bank account and my shoe heels? I roll past the East Wing break room and see Ava Whitmore charting with that careful handwriting. Nurses have hair in a "I've got you" bun face, calm like a promise. And I'm the guy who cleans the corners nobody sees. So I keep to my lane until fate or gravity or a busted backpack strap decides we're done pretending. My bag slides a small wooden recipe box, skitters across the floor, pops open. A folded letter drifts to the toe of her shoe. She reads 2 lines. I would have sworn were only for me. And the night then brings it back with both hands like it's fragile. She sounds like she was good, she says soft. She was is all I can manage because more would break something, and she sets the paper on the box like she's putting a soul back where it belongs. After that, it's tiny mercies, a half sandwich on a napkin by my cart with a smiley face, a sticky note with, "Hope you ate something today." A dog-eared bioethics paperback with a scribble inside. Don't let your light go out, and we start sitting by the window that faces the parking lot, passing a dented thermos of cocoa back and forth, while rain pings off the sodium lights, trading stories nobody ever asked us for. She sketches stairwells with sun where there isn't any. I talk about the tap dancers my mom loved, and how floors can look like water if you catch them just right, and it feels like 2 tired people finally getting seen. She mentions she loves lupines because they show up where folks swear nothing grows. I remember hike into the hills on my day off, come back with one stubborn purple stem in a mason jar on the break room ledge, no note, no speech. She walks in, stops like she's been pulled and smiles. The kind of smile that makes quiet feel holy. That's the night I stop pretending it's a one-sided movie. I catch her after rounds in a strip of sunlight. The building almost forgot to give us, and blurt, "Ava, will you be my date to the dance?" It comes out like ripping a bandage. She tips her head, listens to some private meter, then grins. "Only if you try not to stomp my feet, no promises," I tell her. And yes, my face hurts from smiling. You don't see the rest in the montage, me. In a physical therapy room, with a long mirror and a TV cart, a YouTube slow dance tutorial at 0.75x, because I'm working with 2 left feet and stubborn hope me, buying a thrifted forest green tie for $2.50, cleaning the old scuffs off my granddad's brown Oxfords with olive oil and a toothbrush, pinning a tiny hospital badge she once joked into my glove onto my lapel because I wanted to carry our nights with me. The evening shows up cool and gentle paper lanterns breathing over the courtyard. I stand in the back, trying to look like a man who belongs. Then headlights paint the brick wall white, and a car so sleek, it's mostly a pinion, slides up. The crowd ripples. Ava steps out in slate blue, catching all the light. And for a beat, I forget every floor I ever mopped until the whispers thread the air like smoke. Whitmore, Charles. Whitmore's daughter, Novamed. Systems, words. I didn't own until that second, now carved into the looks on people's faces, and she's walking toward me, with a sorry tucked under her smile while the cameras rise and something in my chest knots. You could have told me, I say, not angry, just pried open. She reaches for my hand, and I step back, because the scene is already a headline. This isn't me, I hear myself say, and I walk through the strings of lights through the corner where the smokers tell the truth, and I don't look back, yeah. That happened. I avoid the East Wing like a bad neighborhood for a week, work through breaks until my supervisor tells me to sit or be sat. A white envelope with my name in familiar curls appears behind a Purell dispenser. Her letter is all the things she is when no one's looking. Soft, brave, honest. She says she kept her last name out of the one space where it bulldozes everything she wanted to be. Just Ava with me, not a negotiation. I read it 3 times, like repetition could be a doorway. It isn't. Then she disappears from the schedule, not transferred, gone, and a CNA whispers about a blow-up in the executive suite, a daughter asking for 20 feet of space to make her own choices, and a father saying those choices were made before she was born. Rumor is a gifted storyteller and a bad historian. But my hands shake on the mop handle anyway. The Novamed Gala lands at the Glass House Pavilion, a building that looks like the future haute dessert. I take a temp job as event support, because rent doesn't care about feelings. Tell myself to keep my head down and my feet moving. You know how that goes. She comes in on the arm of a man built out of confidence and cufflinks on her other side. Charles Whitmore himself, with the face of someone who's never had to ask twice. He's gripping her hand. Just a little too tight, she spots me. Her eyes soften, mine don't. The band slides into a slow number meant to taste like elegance. Halfway through a spin, she steps out and heads straight for me. And you can feel the room tip toward the mess like a tide. He cuts between us with an expensive smile. You've had your fun, he tells her, low but performative. It ends now, then. He flicks a look at my tray. Son, the service entrance is over there. And I set the tray down because you can't hold dignity and a stack of flutes at the same time, sir. With respect, I work for the venue tonight. I won't cause a problem. You already are one, he says. The room dips another decibel. You don't belong in this conversation. Ava slides to keep me in her sight. Dad, stop. He doesn't. He steps in, his shoulder, brushes mine like I failed an invisible exam. Listen, kid, there are lines in this world, cross them and people get hurt. Usually you then the hand comes neat and quick, ring catching the light. Cheek burning like it belongs to someone else, and the worst part isn't the pain. It's the way the room goes quiet around your breath before I can decide what happens next. Her voice lands like a clean cut. Don't touch him. She's shoulder to shoulder with me now. I'm serious, he laughs, the way power laughs. You're choosing this, throwing away everything. She looks at me, then at him. I'm choosing me, she says, and her hand finds mine like the world finally allowed it. We don't run. We walk through 100 eyes and a dozen whispers, out into warm rain, that feels like the city exhaling down the steps by the fountain to the tiny herb garden where first-year residents go to cry and call their mothers. There's a crooked bench under a willow. Nobody trims, right? We sit wet and shaking her carefully. Dun hair falling into the truest version of itself. Why me, I ask. Not because I think I don't deserve love, but because sometimes you need the reasons said out loud. Because you never asked me to be useful to your story, she says. Just me we stand, no music, no phones, just water and a rhythm. I learned in a therapy room that smelled like disinfectant, my hand at her waist. Her hand in mine, we sway, move, laugh, when I inevitably catch her toe, not a movie better. After looks like a montage paperwork and grant proposals and learning the grammar of inspections. Ava walks away from the big inheritance not empty-handed, but on her own terms, a small trust from her grandmother. A community foundation introduced by Miss Roberta, who can stretch a nickel until it squeaks a squat brick building by the river that used to be a print shop we paint and patch and dream something called Lumen House. Not glossy, just kind. Windows that open all the way, a kitchen that smells like cinnamon at 3 a.m. Music nights where a pawnshop guitar is treated like a headliner. A memorial wall with tin stars for people who didn't get a crowd. At the end, the city doesn't throw a parade, it gives us a health inspector who likes coffee and a zoning guy who tells long stories. Some donors pull checks, some nurses quietly unfollow. The slap makes the paper for a day, then slides under a council scandal. But then a hospice nurse says, Mr. DeLuca asked for lemon cookies after a week of silence, and you remember why rooms matter. Opening day is folding chairs and a banner we painted ourselves. Because the printer quote made me dizzy, I wear a navy jacket that fits on purpose and a little star pin. Ava looks like peace. My granddad sits front row with his wool cap, even though the sun is generous. I tell the crowd, this isn't about walls. It's about how we look at people at 3 a.m. and say, I'm not going anywhere. Applause surprises itself. The high school band plays a slow number. I find her at the bottom of the steps. Be my date forever, I say. As long as you try not to stomp my feet, she laughs. We dance the way people do when the watching is the least interesting thing in the moment. And if you're waiting for a neat bow or a sudden redemption arc for a man who confuses control with love, I don't have it. Forgiveness for me is a room with the light on and the door cracked. I'm not sprinting through. I'm not closing it either. I know this much. That night taught me whose approval I can live without and whose hand I can't. So tell me, what do you make of that ballroom moment? A father protecting a name or a man hitting a worker because he thought he could? Was I wrong to walk away from the dance when I learned her last name? Or was that the only way to stay whole in a room that had already priced me if the inheritance was on your table? Would you take it and fight from the inside, or walk away and build something smaller that's yours? Take your stories about lines that were really fences, and if this felt true, like, subscribe, share it with the one person who showed up when the rest of the room looked away. I'm in the comments, right, wrong, or the messy middle.